Hello, and thank you for listening to THRIVECAST. My name is Dr. Tara Rowe from the University of North Florida and the director of the THRIVE program. THRIVE is a supplemental support program for UNF students with a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. I'm excited to kick off our very own podcast channel known as THRIVECAST. Each episode will feature current, past, and even future THRIVE staff and students as we navigate topics related to our program. We are excited to share our unique stories from our own perspectives as we know firsthand how powerful our stories truly can be.
Psychological studies are starting to come out related to COVID and are showing that all age ranges of Americans are struggling with mental health as of late. However, college students, racial minorities, essential workers, and unpaid caregivers have disproportionately bad mental health lately. Some UNF students fall into all four of those categories. Those folks are at an even higher risk for substance abuse, and suicidal ideation. In addition, studies on screen time have illustrated that the more screen time people log, the lower their mental health, emotional stability, and ability to finish tasks becomes. That's a bit concerning for college students. Because of this, we wanted to focus this month's episode on mental health. I have a conversation with Dr. Reed from UNF, who also has a private practice, to discuss some of the tools available to us, even while we're apart. Dr. Reed, do you just want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Sure. So my name is Debbie Reed, and I am a faculty member in the Exceptional Deaf and Interpreter Education Department. So I mainly teach in special ed and disability services. So I work with students who are going to be teachers, and then also in the new disability services program where we prepare students who are going to be professionals in the disability services field. And then I also have a small private practice, the Brimming Cup, which I have an office close to the beach, and I do mental health counseling. Primarily, I work with women who experience trauma and who have had trauma in their background, but also I see a significant number of young adults and adolescents who are in schools and struggling with what's going on in our society today. So a lot of anxiety and dealing with the pressures of school, and so both college students and high school students. And then I'm also, if I want to close that triad here, I also am a mom and a mother with a child who has experienced bipolar disorder for most of his life. Actually, was diagnosed when he was a young person in elementary school, and so I have kind of dealt as a mother with all the experiences that go along with that in school, and then as he grew into adulthood, and also have another child that has a lot of anxiety. So thank you for inviting me to talk, because I think that I kind of approach things with all three lenses, and certainly have experienced things with from different vantage points, which gives me kind of, I think, a different perspective. And so I have a good understanding, I think, of what others go through.
I'm excited that we get to share your different perspectives. So our first question is, what do you think are the biggest hurdles to having good mental health in the sort of digital world that we're all in right now?
That's a really, really good question. And I think I'm thinking back to, oh my goodness, I'm bringing myself kind of back to March where everything kind of exploded. And I don't think that any of us thought we would still be where we're at this point. And I think we thought this was going to be a very, and I'm referring to COVID now, a very short time period. And I think, while we've had to deal with this technology issue and mental health for a long time now, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, I think the COVID has just heightened that and made all of us super aware of the mental health issues that can emerge when we are constantly on the computer and on our phones and things like that. And just the fact that, we've all been confined to our homes and, doing school online and work online and at our homes has really heightened and made a lot of people more aware, I think, of some mental health issues. It's really easy for people to get stuck in front of that computer and lose track of time and unfortunately lose track of the outside world. And I'm personally very guilty of that too. So there are days when I find myself sitting here all day and next thing I know it's dark outside and I realize, what I've done. And the hurdles to this are that's physically not healthy. And, when you do things like this, it causes physical problems, which can cause mental health problems. The constant day after day looking at a screen, I think people lose track of, lose that communication with other people. It's different when you have the screen in front of you, or if you're just talking to someone on phone, when you lose that personal connections and relationships with other people. And it's so easy, we sit down and turn on the computer and there we are. And I worry about that. I actually see seeing a lot of people in my practice right now that are, coming in and dealing with this very issue. They're struggling to develop friendships. They're struggling with just simple communication and how to communicate with other people. I'm having to do a lot of that in my practice.
Like you said, most of us are working online, doing school online, socializing online, and then even like going to therapy online. So how do you balance the work and the play and the health if it's all on the same screen?
Really, really important to schedule on a regular basis. You've got to give yourself break time. I know that sounds like a really easy solution, but it is not easy for many people. We have these kids nowadays who can get on the computer and play computer games, and adults, let me put that in there too, kids and adults who can get on and play computer games for 8, 9, 10 hours a day and not think twice about it. So to say that just schedule a time in there to take a break is not as easy as it sounds. So that has to be just as important as a doctor's appointment. You're putting it on your calendar. So you must schedule time to get up from the computer or to take a break from whatever technology you're using. My suggestion would be to walk out of the room wherever your computer is or whatever, go in another room. Even better, go outside, get away from that piece of technology. If you can stand up on the hour for 5 minutes, that would be great. But at some point, you've got to get away and take a long-term break, because it's not healthy for you mentally or physically to sit there for that long. I was reading an article the other day and it was so interesting. It said how difficult it is for people to spend just 30 minutes a day outside. And that it was a challenge, actually, they were posing to people. And they're right. So I was trying that last week and I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. And so that's been my goal, is like, I'm going to try really hard to put my phone down, number one, put everything away, and every day spend 30 minutes outside, whether it's just walking in my yard or walking around the neighborhood, something. But I didn't even realize how much I'm tied to the computer and my phone and things like that. So schedule that time in there. Really, really important. And it's so important, I think, I don't hear as many people talk about the social or the fun or the self-care kind of time. I don't hear as much of that going on these days. So be real intentional about that and plan those kind of things in. And I know it's hard right now. And unfortunately, some people turn to their computer for that, scrolling through Facebook. That becomes that fun or that. And I would really encourage people to find alternate kind of, things to do that don't involve electronics or technology. Do things like, take a walk, go to the park. We're here in Jacksonville, so go watch a sunrise. It's beautiful. Go watch the sunset, go walk on the beach, go to the park, just sit outside. Someone told me once, and this is the coolest thing ever, is just spend time looking up at the blue sky. Just focus on the blue. And there's just something about the blue that is positive, and it's very calming. So doing, something like that. Pick up a book. And I'm not talking about, the electronic type of book. Pick up an old-fashioned book. I've started lighting a candle, like a scented candle, because a lot of when you try to bring in all of the senses, your sensory stuff, that's very helpful for calming. So get a nice candle, read a book, and that kind of calms your mind and takes your mind off that technology and all that busyness. Journaling is really good, really great for getting away from that technology. And there's different kinds of journaling that you can do if you really don't like writing. There's photographic essays. So taking, of course this is technology now that I'm thinking about it, but they were taking pictures, but they were outdoors of just fun things. So I guess that's technology, so probably shouldn't do that, but it's a different way of, getting outside. But you can journal through pictures and draw or paint. And it doesn't matter if you are not a good artist or you don't draw well or you don't write well. Journaling is just a personal way of kind of getting everything out of your mind. Set a timer every day. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time. It can be for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and do what we call a brain dump. You're literally just dumping everything out of your head onto the page. That can be words. It can be stories. It can be what you see in front of you. It can be pictures. It can be stick figures. It can be designs. A great alternative to being on the computer or in front of technology. This is a great time right now to kind of revisit old-fashioned board games or finding new hobbies like gardening. Getting your hands in dirt is awesome. You get out there and, try your hand at planting some flowers or fall vegetables or something. And, that's pretty fun. It's actually fun, even if you think you're not good at it. You might be surprised. It's kind of fun to get out there and, do something new and different like that. And it's also a way to connect with other people and do things together. If you have a significant other at home, or family members or roommates, that's a great way to kind of do things with them that don't involve Zooming all the time. And, or revisit sports or, things like swimming, things like that, kind of sit back and think about things that don't involve technology and schedule yourself off the computer. There are some good things about, the technology. If you have the iWatch and some other things, they've got some good tools on there. It monitors your heart rate and, it does the breathing. Breathing's really good. It keeps you grounded, and it's, got that blue flower that helps you breathe a certain number of breaths and hold it, and it kind of, keeps you calm. So, but you have to use it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Don't turn it off. You have to be intentional about using that for what it's for and not ignore it.
Do you have any general tips for students in Thrive
on digital learning, digital socializing, or just getting through 2020 outside of getting outside?
Yeah. So I would, another thing that I'm seeing a lot of, and I worry about, and I would recommend, is for people to make sure that they're getting plenty of sleep. As a professor, I see students submitting things at the time. I get to see what time they submit. It's not good when I see people submitting things at like 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I understand some people work, up to the last minute when things are due. And I worry about when students are up that late and then they have to get up the next morning and do things. And sleep is another really important, very, very important for mental health. And when you don't have enough sleep and you continue that pattern, that is going to, that's going to lead to other health problems, including mental health problems. So that would be my number one. You've got to make sure that you're getting plenty of sleep, and that should be a priority. I would say to start, embedding or thinking about the mindfulness. And there's so much out there on mindfulness now, but mindfulness generally is just being very intentional and not rushing through things. And I'm talking very from everything from brushing your teeth in the morning to, being intentional, like mindful about that and not rushing to think about the next thing. Like, our society is so rushed. We just go through our day-to-day activities without even thinking about them. We're so used to doing that. And start thinking about being intentional and slow down. And maybe you'll realize how fast you're moving, and you need to slow down and be intentional about what you're doing. I'd say minimize caffeine, alcohol, drink lots of water, take lots of breaks, like I said at the beginning, get fresh air, get up, walk around, when you need it. And probably most importantly, if you as a Thrive student feel that you are very overwhelmed, and you've tried all these little things that you've heard me say or you've heard other people mention, because there's a lot out there and there's all these things you can try. But if you really feel like you've tried those things on your own and it's not working, then please reach out to the counseling center at UNF. That's for you. That's for all students. And they have counselors there, at no cost to you. And sometimes we just need a person to talk to. So for me, like, that is really important, and it's not a stigma. It's just, everybody needs a person to talk to. So I can honestly, I'll share, my children have I have 5 children. So yeah, I have 5 kids, and several of them have been to, a therapist just because, they just needed someone to talk to, and there was just so much pressure, and with everything going on. So that's there, and that service is there, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so please reach out to those people, and they have other things that they can help with if needed. So I always want to make sure that we mention that, because sometimes someone might have some mental health that is beyond what we mentioned here, and I think that's important to talk about too.
Mm-hmm. Coming from like I'm a mentor with Thrive too, and like coming from that perspective, I think we can be someone to talk to, but our job is someone to talk to about academics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to have that space where students are able to go and have the time to vent or to come up with game plans of how they're going to handle situations outside of academics.
Yes, yes. It's very important.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was really helpful.
You're welcome. It was good to be here and nice to meet you.